What's going on, guys? It's NYPrepper here, and I wanted to do a video on what happens if SHTF strikes during travel. If you're on a vacation or if you're traveling, what do you do if SHTF happens while you're away from home? Let's say you're visiting relatives for the holidays, or you're on a vacation and society collapses, something happens, whether it's a financial collapse or World War III, nuclear attack, EMP, cyber attack, riots, civil unrest, civil war. What do you do if you're away from home, or you're away from your bug out area, your bug out location, or your bug in location? What do you do? If you're hundreds of miles away from your preps, how do you deal with that situation? So I wanted to talk about that in this video, and because it's the week before Christmas, or actually it's just a few days until Christmas right now, Christmas 2020, and it's been an absolutely crazy year this year. We have the coronavirus pandemic, and then we had the rioting in Minneapolis, and we had this crazy election, and then just a couple days ago we had news that Russia hacked our nuclear agencies and SolarWinds, which is a cybersecurity company with hundreds of corporate clients. So there's a lot of stuff going on now in 2020, and I'm sure a lot of people are traveling for the holidays. I'm sure a lot of you guys tuning in are traveling for the holidays to get away, depending on what the COVID restrictions are. A lot of states have COVID restrictions now, but I'm actually traveling right now. I'm going on a trip to the West. I'm going to South Dakota and Montana, and I'm driving right now. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about how to plan your traveling so you can deal with the SHTF situation while you're away from home and while you're away from your preps, okay? So that's what I'm going to discuss here, and I want to just tell you what I do when I go away anywhere. Anytime I go away from home more than, let's say, 100 miles, I always bring a certain amount of gear with me. So this way, if something were to happen while I'm away, I have a certain basic supplies and basic preps that you would need to survive an SHTF situation. All right, so like in my instance right now, let's say something happens on my way to Montana. Let's say there's an EMP or something like that, and I'm all the way across the country. All my preps are in New York. My bug out location is in New York. All my supplies are there. Most of my weapons are there. Most of my gear is there. So what do I do if I'm 800 miles away or 1,000 miles away or even more, because Montana's about 2,000 miles away from New York? What happens if I'm enjoying my vacation and all of a sudden, chaos breaks out, so what I do is I always bring a couple things with me. Number one, I always bring a jug of water that I could use to refill water. Okay, so I always bring at least one 5-gallon jug of water, and I fill it up before I leave, and I keep that 5-gallon water jug in my car or in my vehicle. All right, because if something were to happen, you always want to have a ready supply of water, okay? Especially if you're in a remote location and you have a family with you. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be thirsty, your wife, your kids. And so you want to have at least, I always carry a little 5-gallon water jug in my car, okay? And you could refill that water jug if you come across a water source like a river, a stream. You can refill that water source, and you can use that water for drinking, for cleaning, for bathing, okay? So that's number one, is a water jug. I always bring that with me when I go anywhere far away from home on a road trip, is a water jug, okay? The next thing is your bug out bag, okay? You should always have your bug out bag everywhere you go, unless you're just traveling locally within your town, but you should always have your bug out bag. So bug out bag is number two, and your bug out bag should have everything in there to survive, pretty much indefinitely in any situation, in any terrain that you find yourself in, all right? And obviously you can't have an unlimited supply of food and water inside of your bug out bag, but the tools and the gear inside of your bug out bag should be universal, and you should be able to use them in any type of terrain, any type of climate, okay, whether you're urban or out in the mountains, okay? So your bug out bag is number two. You should definitely bring your bug out bag with you. And if you can, you should pack a bug out bag for your wife, and you should have miniature bug out bags for your kids as well. All right. So moving on from the bug out bag, we're going to talk about weapons now. Okay. So anytime I travel, if I'm going far away on a road trip or on a vacation, or I'm going to visit my family in another state, I always bring weapons with me. All right. Obviously, you want to have a knife, multiple knives. You should have at least one large fixed blade survival knife, and I also like to carry a small neck knife, a small fixed blade neck knife that's about 3 inches, which I can legally conceal pretty much in almost any state and any city. All right. But knives are important, but also firearms. Okay, you should always bring at least a pistol with you, okay? At least one pistol that you're good with, that you have, shot a good amount of times, that you're proficient with. You should at least bring one pistol with you, okay? And you should bring at least, I would say, 200 or 300 rounds of ammo, okay? Because if SHTF strikes while you're away from home, you don't know when your next resupply is going to be, all right? If you're 1,000 miles away and you don't know the area where you are, you just know the immediate location where you're at, but you're in unfamiliar terrain, you're in somebody else's backyard, it's not your home field, you don't have home field advantage, you don't know the area, so you don't know when your next resupply is. So you should fill up a couple of crates, a couple of boxes, ammo crates. You should fill them up with some ammo, and I like to carry about 200 rounds or 300 rounds of ammo minimum for my pistol when I'm traveling, okay? My main defensive pistol, okay? Now you can bring a long gun with you if you wish. You can bring a carbine, or you could bring your shotgun. That's not a bad idea either. It's just the problem with a long gun is bringing it in and out of hotels. It's a little bit more cumbersome, and it's not as easy to conceal. Versus a pistol, I can throw it into my luggage, and the guy at the hotel is not going to know that I'm carrying rifles into the hotel. It's just more low profile. But if you want to bring a carbine with you, or a rifle, whatever, long gun, that's fine. But just know that you're not going to be able to conceal it as easy. And we're talking about traveling across state lines, and you may want to you don't want to draw attention to yourself, okay, especially if you're out of town. So but at least a pistol with 200 rounds. And if you remember the federal law for transporting firearms across state lines, you have to lock up your firearm in a case, and you have to put it in the trunk of your car, and your ammo has to be also in a box of some kind, or some kind of lockable container, and you have to have the ammo locked up as well, okay? Otherwise you're violating federal law. So just be aware of that. If you're traveling across state lines, be aware of the federal law, all right? Ammo and firearm have to be in separate locked containers, and they have to be in the trunk. All right, if you want to read more about the specifics of the law, there's more to it than that, but that's pretty much what I do. But if you want to read more about it, you can go to the ATF website and just look up transporting firearms across state lines, okay? Because you don't want to get in a situation where, you know, you get stopped by the police and, you know, they see one of your rifle cases in the back and they see you're out of state, and then they could jam you up for something, you know? So, you know, you don't want to be in that situation. So familiarize yourself with the laws of transporting firearms across state lines. Another thing too is, if you're driving through a state that has very restrictive gun laws, okay, like New York State, Illinois, Maryland, California, okay, a lot of the eastern states, Connecticut, you know, all the New England states, you have to make sure that you know what the laws are for possessing firearms in those states. Okay, so first of all, you need to know what's the law where you're going, right? If, let's say, I'm going to Montana, I have to know what the law is over there for possessing firearms in Montana. I want to make sure that it's totally legal for me to bring firearms there. Okay, that's number one, and that's common sense. But number two is areas that you're going to be driving through. Okay, like I'm going to have to drive through Illinois, which is a very it has very strong gun laws, okay? So you have to know what the law is as far as passing through the state, okay? Some states like New Jersey have been well known to jam people up because they were passing through and they made a stop at a gas station to fill up their gas tank, and they had firearms in their vehicle. And under under New Jersey state law, you can't possess, let's say, certain types of firearms without a New Jersey firearms license, okay? So you can get jammed up like that. So if you're passing through a state that's heavily regulated, New York, Illinois, Maryland, New England states, you have to make sure that you're just going to pass through and you don't stop anywhere, okay? Don't go to a rest stop. Don't fill up your gas. You know, don't stop anywhere. You just got to go straight through. You can't stop. Otherwise, if you stop, you could get arrested and you could get hit with a felony possibly, okay? That's how ridiculous it is now in the US, right? And depending on the police officer, how, you know, what type of cop you're dealing with, some of them may let you go with a warning, some of them may not, you know, so, but you don't want to take that chance. So, you know, make sure that you're aware of what the laws are, and not just where you're going, but the areas you're passing through, all right? Make sure you lock up the ammo and the firearm in separate containers, all right? So we talked about water, bug out bag, and firearms. What are some other things that you want to bring with you as far as gear and things that you want to take when you're traveling? So this way, if SHTF happens, you're in a better position. Well, I always like to take my ham radio because I could use my ham radio as a police scanner. So if something's happening, I can listen in on public safety frequencies and I can gain very valuable intelligence that way, all right? If there's some kind of terrorist attack, or if something happens along the way to my destination, I can use my ham radio as a scanner to monitor the public safety frequencies around where I am, okay? So ham radio is absolutely essential in my opinion. You can also communicate with local amateur radio operators in the area, okay? So ham radio, obviously flashlights and EDC gear. You always want to have your EDC gear with you. A good map is critical because obviously if there's some type of SHTF and you're away from home, you don't know where you are, you know, you're in an unfamiliar area, you're not a local, so you don't know where the, you know, what the different roads are, you don't know anything, okay? You're totally like lost. So you need a good paper map, you know, preferably a waterproof paper map, okay? And you know, that's what you want, okay? Because, you know, you're gonna want to know where to go and things like that, all right? Another thing too that you should do is you should familiarize yourself with your routes that you're going to be driving, and familiarize yourself with potential safe zones along the route that you're going and danger zones. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If you're, let's say you're traveling to Florida and you're going down south, okay, from New York, you know, what are some danger zones? Well, any kind of populated area is going to be a danger zone with a lot of people in it. Okay, big towns, big cities, those are danger zones. What are safe zones? Safe zones are going to be maybe national forests or secluded areas where you could pull off the side of the highway and you can park in that national forest and you can camp out there and figure out your next step, okay, what you're going to do to get back home to where all your preps are and where your family is, okay? But so you want to identify danger zones and safe zones, and that's where the paper map will help as well. If you don't have a paper map, you're screwed, okay? Because once the communications goes down, you know, you're totally screwed, okay? Obviously, your bug out bag, you should have navigation equipment, a compass, medical supplies should be in your bug out bag, water, snacks, okay, all those things. But those are some basic essentials that you should always take with you no matter where you go, okay? If you're on a vacation somewhere, those are some basic things, okay? Pistol, you should have a pistol with 200 rounds. You should have 5-gallon jug of water that you could refill. You should have also a bug out bag, a ham radio, paper map, and you should do some research on the routes where you're going so you can identify safe and danger zones. And again, the paper map will help with that, as well. And another thing you can also do is you can carry a spare jerry can. So if you want to carry some spare fuel in your vehicle, so if you run out of fuel, you don't have to worry about going to a gas station, okay? You can have a spare can of fuel in the back of your trunk or in the back of your vehicle, but that'll give you a couple extra gallons of fuel to help you get a little further, and you don't have to worry about going to a fuel station, okay? So, those are just some basic things. I'm sure a lot of you guys do that already, but that's what I do when I travel. I try to drive places if I can. I don't like to fly unless I'm going out of the country, then I'll fly. But I prefer to drive if I can, because when you drive, you have more control. And if something were to happen, you have more control over where you're going and things like that. All right. So another thing too is your security. When you reach your hotel room, okay, or your hotel or your Airbnb or wherever you're staying, you want to do a basic, kind of a recon around your area where you're going to be staying. Maybe just pull up on Google Maps and look at the satellite and just, kind of look around the area, see what the terrain is like, identify maybe areas that could be dangerous, and just familiarize yourself with the area, okay? Familiarize yourself with the surrounding area around where you're staying, and that's very important, okay? And obviously, if you're in your hotel, you want to have some basic security measures in your hotel. You should try to bring your firearm into your hotel with you if you can. But you want to familiarize yourself with the area where you're going to be staying. So this way you understand what the area is, and you know the ins and outs. Familiarize yourself with the surrounding area, okay? And you can really get very detailed with that. You can, figure out like defensive areas that you can, shelter up in and things like that. You can identify areas where you can shelter up and safe zones and things like that. If, let's say, your hotel or your lodge gets compromised and you have to leave it, identifying like safe zones in the area is another smart thing to do as well. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more prepping videos. And as always, Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere.